Well, you'd have to live on another planet not to have heard about My Pillow. Over 30 million of them have been sold, and the infomercial behind them is #1 in the world. What you might not know, where did the idea for My Pillow come from?
Mike Lindell, founder and CEO of My Pillow, has sold over 30 million pillows. Yet during the early days of the company, Mike was hiding a horrible secret. He was a crack cocaine addict. In 2009, Mike prayed to God for help and surrendered his life to Christ. His desire to use drugs was taken away. Today, he uses his platform to help others find freedom from addiction and freedom in Christ.
My Pillow's Mike Lindell is here with us now. Welcome to the 700 Club.
Thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
But we're kind of neighbors. You're Minnesota. I'm from Wisconsin, so I recognize the accent. I know you don't think you have one, but you do.
Yeah, we say wash instead of wash.
That's right. Well, you have such an interesting history. You're a college dropout. You got canned from a grocery store where you worked. Decades hooked on drugs. Hardly someone that's the picture of a potential success story. How did this all happen?
Well, it was all God, and I think God was chasing me throughout my life, even when I used to have a bar. I had a bar for 13 years, not a good place for an addict, but it goes back to, when I was 7 years old, my parents divorced. I was put into a new school, and I was actually shy. I would do stuff. I wouldn't talk to people. If you didn't, you don't get rejected if you don't talk to people.
Right.
Or I would show off, like jump out of a moving bus window and things like that. Hey, watch this.
Something small.
But then I got into cocaine. I was a very functioning cocaine addict for years, and I did have. I was married. We had 4 kids, and we were, addiction affects everyone, not just people that are homeless and lonely out there. I say it before, addiction affects all of us, no matter how many forks we eat with.
Yes.
But I had these bars, and not a good place for an addict, but I was always an entrepreneur. And then when I invented My Pillow, I was turned down everywhere. And about that same time, a couple of years prior to that, I got into crack cocaine.
Wow.
And with crack, it's a very paranoid drug, and you're staring out windows, and you're doing. It's not a very social drug at all. And
so you were already into or maybe I should say, still in the cocaine when My Pillow was first
invented. Yeah,
started.
When I got that dream from God, it was. And by the way, what you asked me before, when I would be at the bar afterwards, we'd all go out to party or whatever, and I would be telling my friends, I'd say, we got to quit this, and I would tell them about the Bible I read about when I was in jail and stuff, and they would quit that day and find the Lord, and I'm going, what did I say? I'm losing friends, So but I would be trying to talk them, talk myself into it, but when I invented My Pillow. It was the same time I was a full-blown crack addict, but I put everything into kind of shifted my addiction over here. I'm inventing, my son and I, we'd sit out on our deck every day and tear different foams. They're flying around the neighborhood, and we wouldn't give up. And finally, we had the pillow invented. It took about 9-10 months, and I was turned down everywhere. So it was a complete shutout. There, box stores and shopping channels, and someone said, well, Mike, why don't you do a kiosk? I said, how do you spell kiosk? But I didn't give up, and we did that kiosk, and people, I couldn't talk to people because they, it was, it's like
Sure.
one-on-one, but I worked like one of those days, and a guy came up and bought a pillow from me, and it was selling that first pillow was just amazing. There was no feeling like that in the world. And he buys this pillow, and he says, you have a business card? I go, I'm all out. And I wrote my name on a number on a piece of paper. I didn't have business cards, but I was completely broke, and we had to mortgage the house to buy Christmas presents that year, borrow money anyway. And that guy that I had been there that one day, he called me in January. He said, are you the guy that invented this pillow? He's from Minnesota here. He said, this changed my life. It created a miracle in my life. And that was a divine appointment. He says, I run the Minneapolis Home and Garden Show. Would you like to come in my show? There I put up a booth, and I could actually talk to people because there was a booth, a table between us. And I'd step out behind it. I couldn't talk. I'd step back here and I could talk. But God did one thing there. He brought people back the next day. And I mean, in the droves, they just kept coming, and they're going, I tried this pillow, and it changed my life. And that made me feel good inside. It wasn't about the money. It was about helping people. It gave me some self-worth, you know.
Yeah.
I think so many people don't have that self-worth, you know.
You are entrepreneurial by nature. I mean, this wasn't your first venture, but you mentioned the dream. Talk about the dream that started this.
Yeah, I had the dream, and it was actually the name My Pillow first. There was no My's, and I got up, and all over the house I wrote My Pillow. I was all excited, and you know, I always had problems with pillows. They'd go flat and all these, you know, all the way back to I was 16 years old. But I wrote My Pillow all over the house, and one of my daughters came upstairs, and she's like 11 or 12. She goes, what are you doing? It's like 2 in the morning. I go, I'm going to invent this pillow. I've had this dream. It's going to be called My Pillow, and it's going to be able to adjust. I'm telling her all this, and she grabbed her glass of water, and she looked at me. She goes, that's really random, Dad, and headed back downstairs. And but the dreams kept coming, and you know, and you know, we'd get to a point, you know, for washing and drying, and I have a dream. And it was all theory. It was funny. The one time this guy came up at the state fair when I was there the first year, and he says, are you the guy that invented this pillow? I said, yeah. He goes, well, this will never see big retail ever. He said, have you ever heard the cars that got 20 or 200 miles a gallon? You don't hear about them. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, we tested this, and it lasts 10 years. And I'm glad somebody did, because mine was all just dreams from God. And so each year that went by, I'm going, we're getting closer to the, you know, to the warranty, you know, and all these. But it was just a lot of divine appointments. And then throughout those 7 years, you know, I was turned down everywhere. And then I ended up doing home shows and fairs. But I lost a 20-year marriage. I had people taking the company. I had all these things happening. And the pillow company was just a little pulse. Just a little, you know, heartbeat. And in the spring of 2008, I actually had drug dealers do an intervention on me. And in Minneapolis, there was 3 of them, and I come out and they go, yeah, Mike's been up for 14 days, and everybody's cutting him off. And 2 of them left, and the one guy, he stayed up, and he seen how much crack I had left, and he ended up going to sleep. It was 2:30 in the morning, and I was out, and I went down to the streets of Minneapolis, and he. I come back up there an hour later. I couldn't get crack anywhere. And he's standing up for me. He said, how'd that work out for you? He goes, give me that phone. I'm taking a picture of you. You're going to need it for your book. He said, you've been telling us for years that this pillow company is just a platform for God, and you're going to come back and help us all someday, and we're not going to let you die on us. And this is what I would tell them all back then. I'd get these dreams, these prophetic dreams of coming back and helping
Boy,
and you
addicts. Have built this company into just a huge company. Now you've got sheets, you've got all kinds of toppers that you're doing with it.
And it's rewarding for me. It's you know, it keeps me out there in the public eye, so I can use this for my evangelism, for ministry, and helping addicts. And I've got over 1,500 employees now, and we're like a big family. We're a company of second chances. When I first went from 5 employees to 500 in 40 days. Back when I did my first infomercial, everyone's going, Mike, you need to have a corporate attorney, you need to be CEO, and you need an HR department. I said, those things sound horrible. I want to make pillows, you know?
Yes, and you have. And you've done it. That's what people see in your commercials, the realness of you, but these people all working together that are smiling and looking like they're having fun. I want to say, we have touched the surface of Mike's story. His book, What Are the Odds, comes out in December, but you can pre-order a copy today. He's also going to be our featured speaker in today's 7 Days of Blaze Chapel, and you can stream that event live on cbn.com. That's at noon Eastern Time. You don't want to miss it. So great to meet you in person. Thank you for being here. It's an amazing story of what God has done.
I just want to hope the story brings people hope, and I just want to, you know, with God, all things are possible.
Amen, brother.